Greetings and welcome back to Wolf Kage Los Angeles. So, here's the headline, folks. President Trump is moving to federalize Washington, D.C., and predictably the Democrats are losing their minds. Now, why does this matter? Because D.C. is supposed to be the nation's front porch, the symbolic heart of America, yet for years it's been plagued by violent crime, by open drug use, and an infrastructure that's crumbling faster than the excuses coming out of City Hall. Here's what's really interesting, though. Trump is pulling back the curtain on a truth that's been hiding in plain sight. Many of these politicians, they're not spending taxpayer money the way it's supposed to be spent. Your dollars are supposed to go towards making the city safe, making it clean and respectable, a capital the whole world can admire. But instead, they've been funneling those funds into a tangle web of NGOs, of nonprofits, of special interest lobbyists. And here's the kicker. Those same groups often circle the money right back to the politicians in the form of political support, campaign donations, and of course, cushy post office jobs. If you've been paying attention, you know this isn't new. This is the playbook that has been used for decades, and not in just DC. In fact, watchdog reports have shown that billions in federal funds for urban renewal have quietly disappeared into administrative costs and questionable contracts. The people, they get scraps. Us people, we get scraps. But now it looks like Trump is ready to put an end to this revolving door of taxpayer-funded corruption. And from the sounds of it, a lot of folks in power are starting to sweat. Check out this clip.
You know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart, and he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in, because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us. So it's a very good question, actually.
You know, what people aren't nearly talking about enough is that President Trump, he means business. He knows the clock is ticking. He's got a narrow window to turn the ship around before the political sharks in Washington circle in, because the moment he is successful, the gravy train for corrupt insiders comes to a screeching halt. No more sweetheart deals, no more taxpayer-funded paydays. And here's the kicker. His success would expose exactly what these politicians could have been doing all along for their constituents, but chose not to. Right now, President Trump is invoking the D.C. Home Rule Act to temporarily federalize the District of Columbia. Under that law, the president gains direct authority over the Metropolitan Police Department, bypassing city officials entirely. It also grants him the power to deploy the National Guard onto D.C. streets. Now, this is not a photo op this time. This is a real move. It's a direct command shift, putting Washington, D.C. under federal control, not in theory, but in practice. And let's be clear, this isn't just about politics. This is about solving a very serious problem in the nation's capital, the same way Trump took decisive action at the southern border. When the stakes are this high, hesitation means failure. This is a full court press, one to restore order, cut through corruption, and remind Washington that the government works for the people, not the other way around. Check this clip out.
Purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back. Under the authorities vested in me as the President of the United States, I'm officially invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia Home Rule Act. You know what that is? And placing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department under direct federal control, and you'll be meeting the people that will be directly involved.
Now, some people are going to say this is big government overreach. But here's the thing, in my opinion, and from my own experience living right here in crime-ridden Los Angeles, California, this is exactly what government is supposed to be doing in the first place, using our taxpayer money to keep the streets safe, to keep the streets clean, making sure people feel secure in their own homes and businesses, not wasting funds on fringe pet projects and social experiments that the voters never asked for. We're not paying politicians to tell us how to raise our kids or to push ideologies we don't agree with. We're paying them so that we can buy a home, so that we can live safely, have access to healthy food, and build a good life. But here in Los Angeles, that basic promise has been broken. We got people walking in the stores, grabbing whatever they want, strolling out with no fear of any consequences whatsoever. This is madness. And the worst part, no one's stopping them or even talking about stopping them. Too many people don't put themselves in the shoes of store owners, of landlords and property owners. And why? Because so many have been priced out of owning anything at all. That resentment turns into a twisted sense of satisfaction when they see someone else's property destroyed. But what they don't realize is this: when property crime is out of control, everyone pays. Taxes go up, insurance rates skyrocket, and opportunities disappear. And here's the ugly truth. A lot of California politicians don't want this chaos to end because there's money in it. There's power in it. Every ounce of disorder can be turned into a funding request, a campaign slogan, or a backroom deal. Our suffering has become their business model. And as long as it keeps making them rich, they're not going to lift a finger to stop it. Check out this clip.
You expect more cities to follow DC's path if this goes through. So the idea is that Chicago, LA, San Francisco, would they expect similar action to what we've seen in DC?
We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching, and maybe they'll clean up, and maybe they'll do this and get rid of the cashless bail thing and all of the things that caused the problem. I mean, if you go back, this whole thing with cashless bail is a disaster. So many problems came that we never had before. So they're watching us today, and if they don't learn their lesson, if they haven't studied us properly, because we're going to be very successful, I have zero doubt about that. It's going to be. It's a question of will it be really fast, like the border. You know, everyone said, they used to say, Biden used to say, I need legislation. I didn't get any legislation. I called up our people, and we did a great job. Tom Homan was great. As you know, our secretary did a great job. They did a great job. There's no games. They didn't play games. And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance.
And of course, the mainstream liberal media is losing their minds over this. And honestly, they should be nervous, because what President Trump is doing in D.C. is about to expose something politicians, especially Democrat politicians, but really most politicians in general, do not want the public to see. Once people see what's possible, once they see a leader actually take decisive action, it shatters the excuse machine. Suddenly, the we can't crowd has to admit we could have, but didn't. That's a dangerous moment for career politicians, because now the folks who have been coasting, collecting a paycheck, and barely lifting a finger will be expected to actually start working hard, and not for special interests, not for criminals, not for illegal aliens, but for tax-paying American citizens. Check this clip out.
Why is this issue, and again, you're going to get into the fact check of what is wrong about his figures or not, but why is this the top of the President of the United States agenda today? And I think that's an important question for us to think about as we think about everything that's on his plate. Why is taking over law enforcement in the District of Columbia? Now, he made the argument as to why, and that it's a capital city, and that the way he sees it is that it is crime-ridden and needs to be changed. But still, why is the President of the United States putting that front and center? So that's a question I sort of try to think about.
From your perspective, is the purpose of this action purely to have just a massive show of force on the streets of DC, or in practice, is there anything that will be done differently with the police department under federal control?
To define what the purpose is of this deployment of National Guard assets, with this reallocation of things like FBI agent resources to patrol the streets of DC, it raises some important questions, like what is it? Why this production? Why this kind of Potemkin village of criminal intervention in a city? What is this designed to distract us from? I don't know that I can answer that for you here. But
so right now, President Trump is in a head-on fight with the leaders of so-called sanctuary cities. And let's be clear, sanctuary city isn't even really a thing in the Constitution. It's a political invention. But most people don't realize that, so they just go along with it. The reality, illegal aliens are taking jobs from American citizens. They're taking housing away and are driving up housing prices in cities like ours here in Los Angeles. Common sense tells you more people in the area means higher prices. But here's the twist. Those same illegal residents are getting vouchers and government subsidies to cover those inflated rents. Meanwhile, American citizens, the very people funding all of this with their taxes, are left struggling to keep a roof over their head. There is no way most of these individuals could afford LA rents without taxpayer assistance. And it's not just housing. The jobs argument is smoke and mirrors. The truth is, plenty of Americans would do those jobs for a living wage. Living wage being the key. Corporations don't want to pay that. They rather keep wages low by hiring people who will work for less. And the politicians get kickbacks for keeping that pipeline open. It is not about compassion. It is about cheap labor, inflated census numbers, and guaranteed political power. Think about how crazy this is. Cities like Los Angeles, cities like Chicago and New York and Boston will literally have thousands of illegal aliens in custody at some point. But they block their own police departments from helping ICE. LAPD, NYPD, Boston PD ordered to stand down. And why? Because if those people are removed, the politicians lose votes, lose control, and, most importantly, lose their cash flow. What's happening in D.C. right now is more than a local cleanup. It's a blueprint. When you take federal control over a police department, you gain full access to information and the tools needed to find and remove dangerous individuals. You don't just talk about law and order, you actually enforce it. And of course, the Democrats and their media allies like MSDNC, CNN, and all of them are rolling out the fear playbook because it works very well for them. They'll say Trump is militarizing the police and the cops are coming for you instead of the criminals. It's the classic dog and pony show. The real story, they're terrified. They're terrified the system might finally start working for law-abiding citizens instead of for them. Check out this clip.
One of the things that we have seen over and over from the president, from his team, Stephen Miller saying it's like Baghdad in Ethiopia. They seem to hold their harshest criticism sometimes for cities that are majority black and brown. Do you see that, and what do you think that means?
I think that I have been dealing kind of with this issue for a number of years. It's kind of easy fodder on the campaign trail, but now we're talking about governing, and my job is to focus on making sure our city is running well, and people enjoy a great quality of life. And I think we're doing a really good job. We do need the federal government's help, as I mentioned, because they have an outsized influence on our criminal justice system. We need more prosecutors. We need more judges. There are other ways to help. Even we want to rebuild our jail, and there are ways that the feds can help with that. But also just doing their part, cutting the grass, fixing the fountains, making sure that federal law enforcement is doing all of the policing that they can do. And I just have to say thank you to MPS, FBI, ATF, who've always worked cooperatively with us.
It's always funny, but it's predictable how they always want to reach for the race card. Why? Because the race card has been one of the most effective political tools in modern history. Many people find comfort in seeing themselves as victims, and once you lock people into the victimhood mindset, you can control them. First, it was being black as the ultimate political victim label, and then it expanded into brown people, then LGBTQ, and on and on and on and on, adding new groups to keep the cycle going. But here's the reality. We're talking about cleaning up crime, and a lot of the crime is more concentrated in so-called black and brown communities. The solution could be implemented quickly and effectively, but there's no big profit in solving it fast. The money is in letting it drag out. The money comes from the crime continuing, from the squalor continuing, from the endless network of organizations and nonprofits that thrive off of the misery. Yes, it's going to roll out in poor neighborhoods first. Why? Because that's where the highest rates of violent crime happen. That's just common sense. And here's something you won't see on TV. There are law-abiding citizens in those neighborhoods who want their communities cleaned up. They just won't be given a microphone. Instead, the media only highlights criminals, their families, or those defending that way of life. Now, check out this great news. President Trump had a little something to say about my little city here in Los Angeles, California. And I'll be honest, I hope he cleans this place up because right now it's a mess. And I know Gavin Newsom and I know Karen Bass are scrambling to keep that from happening. Why? Because if it does happen, people will realize California and Los Angeles never had to be like this. We could have been an oasis all along. Check this clip out.
What they had suffered, almost 25,000 homes. And you see what's happening now. They didn't give their permits. I went to a town hall meeting. I said, we're going to get you the federal permits, which are much harder. Almost immediately, Lee Zeldin is a star. He did an incredible job. They have all their federal permits. They don't have their city permits. And the mayor said to me, we think we could have them in 2 years. I was walking down the street and I met with firemen and police. And I was saying hello to many people that were standing in front of their homes with yellow tape. You can't go in. You can't go onto the lot. And those people wanted to start rebuilding the homes then and there. And the mayor said, we should be able to get them the permits within 2 years. I said, that's a shame. 2 years? Are you kidding? I'm going to get them the federal permit like almost immediately. 2 years. And she roared back, well, maybe 1 year. The place was booing her out of the place. They don't have their permits to build their homes. And now they're talking about putting, this is among the most beautiful areas was in the country. Now they're talking about putting low-income housing there. Can you believe this? I love low-income housing. I made money with low-income housing. I built low-income housing. I know more about low-income housing and luxury housing. I know about everything real estate. They want to replace some of those homes with low-income.
Los Angeles, California in general, was once an oasis not long ago. The Newsom came in. The money came in. The corruption came in. And now we live in squalor. But hopefully Trump can do something about it. I have faith. He's moving fast. He's decisive. He knows real estate. He knows land. So, but there you have it. The blueprint is right in front of us. Federalize the problem areas, clean up the streets, cut the corruption at the knees, and watch how fast the excuses disappear. But here's the part they'll never say out loud. Once people see that the real change is possible, the days of coasting, the days of grifting, and the days of hiding behind compassion are over. This is not about left and this is not about right. It's about right and wrong. And right now we've got a choice. Do we keep letting the chaos pay their bills? Or do we finally demand a city? Do we finally demand a state and a country that works for the people footing the bill? I am Wolf Kage, and this was Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Stay awake, stay aware, and most importantly, stay unwoke. Peace.